Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. I'm here with Matthew Hay.
Yes, and I'm here with Jewel Cunningham.
I was trying to decide if I can refer to you as Matthew if you're a fan of Matthew.
That's my legal name.
It's your legal name.
But nobody really calls me that, other than my mom. Hi, Mom.
Did they call you that in school or anything like that?
No.
No. Does your wife, is she, when you're in trouble, Matthew Hayward?
No, it's not even Matt. I don't even know if I really hear her call me Matt at all.
Really? She just calls you honey?
Or babe.
Hubs, babe.
Yo.
That's cute. Awesome. That's
Yo,
nice.
Hubs.
I'm so happy for you. Well, cool. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. It sounded really sarcastic. I am very happy for you, Matt, actually. Yeah. So this is our Tube Talk episode where we talk about Tube Talk, all things television, episodes of shows that we've had a chance to see, give you our review and our breakdown and our thoughts, and also talk about television shows, things on Netflix and Amazon and other places that we have a chance to check out. And today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different episodes, a bunch of different shows. In particular, we're going to be talking about Better Call Saul.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about The Flash and Arrow.
Yep.
And also catching up on a new show that we haven't talked about in the show yet, which is Silicon Valley. Yep. Big one for me. Matt, you haven't had a chance to watch it, but I'll be talking about it.
Sounds good.
Cool. So, Matt, why don't you tell them a little bit about some ways to get connected to the show for us here?
You can find us on the interwebs in the social media universe at Real Review Media. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Real Review Media. Again, that's real spelled with an E, two E's, R-E-E-L. Fishing reel, if you need that help. And then... we
have to get a fishing reel sound effect so we can use that.
We need to make that happen.
I'll get one.
Yes, okay. We'll get on that. And then if you want to reach out to us too, we actually have an email. You can reach us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com. Email us, let us know if there's a show that you love, you want us to check out. We did that last week.
Yes.
And then also, if you have any questions, any other thoughts or comments, and something that maybe we say, or something that you liked or didn't like, or if you have a concern,
like that's gonna happen.
And then we also have a website, realreviewmedia.com. Check it out. We post stuff on there frequently. Same thing on our social media platforms as well. But yeah, that's how you can get connected with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for that, Matt.
You're totes welcome.
Totes. Well then, totes, let's head into talking about some television.
Yeah.
Tube Talk. Yeah, so we're going to start things off with one of our favorite shows that we're watching right now. Really loving the heck out of it.
Yep.
Better Call Saul. The only downside to this is we release these episodes on Monday, which is the exact day that the new episode comes out. Yeah, so you'll probably be listening to this, most of you, after the new episode has come out. So unfortunately, we'll talk about that next one.
Right.
But what were your thoughts on this most recent episode, which is Sunk Costs?
I'm still thinking that this show is solid. So solid. It's not waning as it, gets older, I guess, as it progresses. It's continually good. Really good.
I'm enjoying it as well. I really liked this episode. I think the last episode definitely had a bit more. It just naturally had a very much more suspenseful. It almost felt like a mid-season, ending. Like if they were going to cut it off for the middle of a season and move on and give some time. It felt like kind of felt like that. But this one was still really good progression. I loved and we talked about this. It's almost like Saul's brother is going through, in a way, his own breaking. And I think you kind of saw a bit of that. It's like every time Chuck goes really really far and really bad against his brother, does something really bad to him, then he kind of will regret it and back off a bit. And I definitely think you've seen Saul break. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm not forgiving you. I'm not coming back. There's always been something to kind of pull him back in. But this time it's been very clear that Chuck was trying to extend an olive branch in a way by saying he didn't want him to go to jail or anything like that, but just to get rid of the legal aspects of him being a lawyer. So just get him submitted to the bar, get his bar license removed or suspended or whatever it would be. But he chose that he's going to fight. Yeah,
he's not going to back down. Yeah. He's going to not take any of the options that his brother gave him.
Right, which I love it.
I know. It's so good.
And then the other thing we talked about before we started recording here was what Mike did.
Yeah.
And a little bit of his interaction with Gus there on the road. And I mean, based upon where the story is going, these two folks are going to work together. But the interesting thing was I didn't know, and I don't think any of you knew really, are they going to start working together now? Or is there going to be something else that would sort of take that relationship later on and bring them back together?
Right.
And it kind of felt like there was like a natural, like, nope, they're done now. This is the meeting for the first time and moving on. But then he kind of pulls himself back in, like Mike finds a way to like get himself back in with Gus. And it's like, oh my goodness, you don't even know what you've just done.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things we're going to get to see, we talked about this, I don't believe they ever did, and I don't recall them ever doing. We never actually saw what happened to Hector.
Yeah, why he's in a wheelchair.
Why he's in a wheelchair,
Breaking
which
Bad.
is the famous thing with the bell. Why he's in that wheelchair, and I think we're going to get to see that. And that like really excites me because Saul or like Mike was even like, oh, you can tell like he's just not done with Hector.
He says, I'm
like,
not done with Hector Salamanca.
Yeah, so.
Oh man, I'm really excited. That whole situation, and this is something that Breaking Bad did really well, and this is something that they're doing really well in this show. Is they'll show you something at the beginning of the episode, and you're like, what is going on?
But it always pays off.
And they
awesome
tie it in like to the story. They tie it in a really unique and really cool way as to what the point of that was. It reminds me of and this is minor spoiler, like in the season 2 or 3, I think it was 3, where there's all like these things floating in the pool.
Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what is that? And you find it's a plane crash.
Right,
Or it's like,
because you're thinking like maybe a murder happened, maybe somebody broke in, like you don't know what happened.
And it's those kinds of tie-ins that I think is just brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just really good writing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the shoe thing was really cool. I mean, the way that Mike went about setting up, you get to see why Mike is so effective and good at what he does. He's not a guy that just talks to talk.
Yeah.
He can back it up with some real solid, just smart trickery.
He's smart and very capable.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy.
Right. And the funny thing was about that scene, where he's shooting the gun in the air, I'm like, why is he shooting the gun in the air? Like, why did he want to alert them? And then you realize, oh, that was just so like when he shoots the shoe, they're not going to like freak out about it. They're not going to suspect anything. So, and that was such a clever way to do that. With just like salting the car with the shoe. I thought that was awesome. The way the whole way that they filmed it, when you see the shoe hanging there and then you get to see the whole progression of the shoe getting up there and everything like that. Right. And I'm always like, I've been to like a lot of foreign countries where you have shoes hanging off of power lines and stuff. And now I'm like, I wonder if that was like that. I wonder if they did something like that.
What's the purpose for that?
Yeah. I mean, the whole way they put that together where it was like, he's asking for like a little something and it was really clever.
Yeah.
It was really intelligent.
And I loved how they had that cliffhanger too. It's not really a cliffhanger, but that resolve that Jimmy is talking to Kim. He's like, I'm gonna go against Chuck, that whole thing, and they're setting it up for the last. We got a little bit more to go, a little bit more than half to go of this season still.
Yeah,
about 7 episodes, and it's gonna be a battle. It's just gonna be brother against brother, and I'm really excited to see it play out because that. Jimmy is a scrapper, and he finds like these the craziest little things to win his argument or his case. He's that's the same thing. That's how he found the whole Mesa Verde thing. Like when he went and he got all the shredded paper and it was up all night, like putting it together. He does the work. He's good at what he does. He's just morally ambiguous.
Right. It's like that he's in a place now where he's capable and in a sense Breaking Bad against his brother. And so you almost sort of like, what is he going to do to get Chuck? And I think the involvement of Kim is key to this. Yeah. I think that the fact that he didn't want to keep her involved was a legitimate, like, careful, protective thing of her not wanting to get involved in something she doesn't need to be because she's got too much work. But I think that also in a way would have protected her if he did end up going down a really bad path with it.
Yeah.
And that could tie into, I mean, we don't know how many seasons left. You know what I mean? It feels like things are starting to get to a point with some of the elements, especially like with Gus and Mike now meeting and moving forward with their relationship. And obviously this thing that he's done with Hector's truck is going to have huge impacts on, their relationship. So at some point that's going to come to a head. And I'm wondering if it's going to happen this season and then kind of where they're going to go from there. And if Kim's story and Jimmy's is going to kind of come to an end in a way on the basis of everything that happens with Chuck.
Right.
Because we know that, they're not around for the most part from what we've seen in Breaking Bad. And obviously Breaking Bad was made before this, so it didn't make natural sense for them to tie in, but they're going to have to figure out a reasonable reason for them not to be there.
When we first see Saul in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
It's Jesse is telling Walt, you don't need a lawyer, you need a criminal lawyer.
Yeah.
So he's familiar with him. As to the relationship the other way, I'm not as familiar, but there's like rumors and speculation that they're going to somehow get Aaron Paul to come in at some point. I would love to see that because I love that guy. But yeah, it's just really good. I'm so excited because this is a really, really solid show that I feel like is kind of under the radar.
It is. I mean, it's got pretty good numbers. It's got a 1.52, looks like, million viewers.
But it's nothing compared to like The Flash, and it's a far better show
Walking
than
Dead
The Flash.
or The Flash, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's under the radar. Not a lot of people know about it. I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those shows that when it's done and it's 5 years off the air, people are going to be like, or like when it's in its final season or something like that, people are going to be like, oh, sweet. And they're going to watch all the seasons on Netflix or whatever, to catch up.
Yeah.
But
no, I totally agree with you, man. I think the weird thing about the show was I kind of like initially started watching it and thought it was a lot better.
Yeah.
And then I kind of lost interest in it a little bit because it just kind of wasn't. It was like good. It was fun and it was interesting, but it was really deep in a way.
Yeah.
And it was tying me back into Breaking Bad stuff. And then the more as it's gotten connected to the Breaking Bad world, the more I've enjoyed it and liked it. But I still think it stands on its own.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
It's one of the best shows out there. So awesome. So check it out. What would you rate this episode then on a scale of like 1 to 10?
9.
9.
Yeah.
Cool. I'd probably give it a little bit lower. I'd probably do an 8.5. Yeah. I really loved the whole thing with Mike, and I liked the resolution that Kim and him got together, but it just didn't feel like a whole lot happened.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like a small progression for everybody's stories a little bit. So, awesome. So, with that, then let's move on to the next show, which is returning show. It's been off the air for a couple weeks now, kind of doing just a little bit of a break. I don't know if they had a good reason for that.
They do it every year. It's like a 4 or 5 week break. It really stalls out the momentum of the show.
Yeah, because this is my first time watching the show and being caught up on it. We're talking about The Flash,
right? By
the way, for everybody who's listening in. This is my first time watching the show and being caught up with it and experiencing that. And it really was like that. It was really like, but I will say this too, I wasn't super happy with where the show was at prior to the break.
Right.
So in a way, it's kind of been good because it's given me a chance to kind of just get a little less irked off about some of the stuff that they've been doing with it.
Overall, it's a pretty welcome return, I felt like.
Yeah. So why don't talk a little bit about the episode.
Just kind of the breakdown. They had mentioned before the break, what's the one advantage that Savitar has over us, and that's he's from the future. He knows everything and how it plays out. So we need to go to the future, or Barry is like, I need to go to the future and figure out who Savitar is, so we can deal with him here in the present. So just kind of an overall thing. He goes to the future. Meets his future team, sees how the city's doing without the Team Flash. They've been disbanded because Barry Allen's sad about Iris.
That was like the worst part of the episode. I did not care for like his whole hairstyle, demeanor. He's like, oh, she's dead, man. She's totally dead.
Well, they make a reference like the present time Barry says, you probably didn't recognize me because I seemed a little bit younger. I'm like, they look the same. It's not like one looked younger than the other.
He looked taller. I don't know if that was like them trying to say that he's like still going older, but to me, for whatever reason, he looked in all the shots taller. Like just like a few inches taller.
I didn't catch that.
I know that sounds weird.
Yeah, I didn't catch that at all. But
yeah, and I loved. Sorry, sidetracked here, but yeah, I loved how they were like constantly saying like he had this old school costume and outfit, but the future Flashes didn't look that much different.
Right,
it had like a few more panels on it. That was like basically it. So yeah, go ahead.
So he's in the future, meets up with Cisco, which I really enjoyed. Future Cisco in this episode.
Yeah.
Just he's very gentle, very friendly, very kind of calm. He wasn't as sharp of an edge as I feel like Cisco normally is. And I did appreciate that. He didn't really find out what he wanted to find out. He didn't find out who Savitar was.
Right, he got a clue.
He got information from Future Barry about how to create a prison within the Speed Force.
Yeah. From
some scientist we haven't met yet, but he gave that information to Barry. And I bet Barry in this next episode is going to essentially find her and be like, hey, this is from the future. Help us figure this out now so we don't have to wait. That's kind of what I'm feeling is going to happen.
Yeah.
Also, Caitlin, future Caitlin, present Caitlin, aligns herself with Savitar, finds Savitar, and Savitar you basically comes out of his suit, but you don't see who it is. They leave it on that cliffhanger.
Well, the title for the next episode is "I Know Who You Are."
Oh gosh.
So I'm wondering if they're just teasing that, or if you are going to officially find out.
Well, we'll find that out tomorrow night.
Is. We will. Yeah. Pretty soon here.
But well, I guess we'll see if it truly is a hint to what the episode's about.
It could be a character that just has like some ability to figure out who people are, something like that. Yeah.
So I did like that, like you had mentioned previously, that they were very self-referential in how everybody keeps secrets and how kind of obnoxious and annoying it is.
Yeah.
I thought that was good they mentioned that. I did like this episode actually a lot more than what we've seen the last several weeks.
Yeah.
When I say several weeks, I mean several episodes because several weeks it hasn't been on.
Yeah.
But yeah, any thoughts for you just overall?
I agree with what you're saying. I think Cisco was a highlight for me. I think HR as well was really funny in this episode, even in like
the book thing.
Yeah, the book thing. And he's just such an HR. He's such a smarmy, kind of gross. Like that's a side of him we haven't seen in a way.
No, that was a new thing, yeah.
Yeah, but like in a funny, awful way. Because he's been very like chipper and friendly and outgoing, but never in like a sexual way.
Right.
So it's kind of weird, but funny at the same time.
Funny note, he actually directed this episode.
Did he?
His debut. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. It makes sense. Of course, he's going to turn us over to
right.
super
He's
successful.
like, this will be kind of funny.
Let's make everybody super attracted to me. Yeah. So yeah, I thought it would have been funny if they'd played off of that and like made one of the girls like somebody he would absolutely not be interested in at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you know, whatever.
Didn't have time for that.
But yeah, no, I thought it was a good episode. I think. So I liked the tie-in with Iris and her father and explaining how, you know, he needs to be there for her dad, and kind of I thought that was good and kind of sentimental and nice, and it made sense. I think it worked on a plot level. I think if I break it down, if I go too far into it and start to break down different elements, then I start to question it. But as long as I don't question it too much, then it's okay. You know, it's like, well, like he's traveled in the past before and he got chased by the spirit demon guys. You know, how come that didn't happen this
I always
time,
like to call them the Dementors.
Yeah, like the Dementors of the Speed Force, right? You know, so that didn't happen. And then also, like, dude, you're in the future. You have an unlimited amount of time because you can literally travel back to the exact moment.
Yeah.
So it's like you can spend some time. You could spend some time trying to find that physicist Tracy Brand, who's the girl that, you know, made this off whatever that is, the device that can trap Savitar. Yeah. So it's like you can spend some time there because, like they said, they don't know where she's at. Mm-hmm. But like you can do some research. You've got your team together now, except for Caitlin. You can do some work to figure out, you know, and talk to Cisco. Find out what exactly happened in the moment where his hands got frozen off. You know what I mean? I thought that was cool, by the way, which he had like the robot hands. And,
it's like the Terminator.
Yeah. And it felt realistic too, in a sense, you know, for him not to be able to use his powers because of that stuff. But so I thought it was good. I thought it was effective. Again, I feel like if I start going into it a bit too much, but I'm not expecting that from a Flash show because it's not made to be like the most well-structured.
Yeah.
As long as the characters are good, as long as it's fun, as long as it makes general sense to me where it's going, then I'm good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I liked it. I think I'm interested to see what happens with Caitlin a little bit.
Yeah.
And the whole Savitar thing. Obviously, she's not going to get like written out of the show.
Right.
She's too big of a character for that. So they're going to probably have to find some way to bring her back into the fold somehow.
They'll figure it out. And I think it'll have to do with Julian. Somehow.
Yeah. He's going to, you know, give her the kiss that takes away the freezing powers.
Exactly.
Like, unfreeze her lips or something.
Yeah, it'll be like Frozen and he sacrifices herself.
Yeah, which he's growing on me. I'm still not a huge Julian fan, but I just didn't like the way that they were using his character as like this like weird like monk type thing that like was like the seance stuff with like Savitar. I thought that was like silly and magical, and
I thought that was okay.
I never really got into the whole magic elements of the show. I like better when they just stuck with the science.
Yeah,
you know, and so
what would you rate this thing?
I think I would give this one a 7-ish, like between a 7.5 and like an 8 out of 10.
Okay, yeah, I'm closer to you too. I'll be on a 7.5.
Yeah.
One thing I want to see after they get out of season 3, depending on how they end it, I want to see them get back to the villain of the week formula.
Yeah.
And what I want them to do is, because Wale is still here, right? So he's still a speedster, and he's, I guess, rivals Barry's speed.
Yeah.
And one thing I loved about the first season of The Flash is as they would battle villains of the week, he would learn new things, basically upgrading his power.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of a video game. Like the farther you get along,
you
get
like
new
RPG.
abilities, you get new abilities,
unlocked,
you get faster or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I want to see that happen to where no one can rival him. He's supposed to be the fastest man alive, not sometimes the fastest man alive.
Yeah, or send Wally to like an alternate universe, with Jesse, so he can be with her,
right.
Where they can spend time racing. I thought it was really silly and kind of sad how they wrote his character, in this. He's like, he almost came across as like brain dead.
Oh, future Wally.
Yeah, future Wally. I was like, wow, that's really a harsh thing to do to Wally. I've never been a huge Wally fan. I just feel like him as an actor. If it was a different actor, I would have been more okay with it. I just think he's not, unfortunately, the greatest actor.
Sure.
He seems very wooden and kind of flat in a lot of his stuff. Most of the cast, I think, are great actors. He's just one of the ones that I'm...
Yeah.
So, but,
cool.
I mean, I thought overall pretty decent.
Decent.
All right, so with that then, Matt... Would you like to take us into a conversation about the show Arrow?
Yeah, let's talk about Arrow, because that came back too. That was on another like 4 or 5 week hiatus, just like The Flash was. And I did think the episode was all right.
Okay.
So we get kind of a continuation. Chase, who we find out is Prometheus, a couple episodes ago. We finally get the evidence through Felicity and Helix and the people that she's working with to get the details on who he is. There's a video file where you see his face, and they distribute that, and now all police force is like, oh, this guy is not who he says he is. Is the DA? That's right. He was the DA, and so like they go after him, but he's like just brutal and kills everybody and drives away, and he's in the wind. Nobody knows where he is right now, and so we get to this thing, and this whole episode kind of revolves around what lines aren't we supposed to cross as good guys? Like when do we get into like, okay, we've gone too far, and we've seen Oliver as the Arrow cross that line back and forth and debate with it and like really have a lot of inner turmoil and have to battle his inner demons because of these lines that he's crossed. And he's one of the episodes that they title is they call him a sin eater. Like he takes the sins of other people on himself so they don't have to suffer from them.
Are they tasty?
Maybe if they're like Krispy Kreme donuts when they're first made. But no, then again, so just going back to it. So Felicity's been on this kick where she was engaged at one point to marry Oliver. That didn't happen. They had a falling out, which I think is totally just overblown. And Felicity, I liked her a lot to begin with. I just don't, not that one.
Okay.
And I
couldn't help it.
So Felicity, I just don't. I haven't liked her since then because I feel like her reasoning is completely off base. I feel like she's blaming Oliver for a bunch of stuff that's not her fault. But then she gets into a relationship. Again, that guy ends up getting killed by Oliver by accident. And
does that happen?
Yeah, and so
sorry, bro.
And so it's really Prometheus's fault, but she's kind of mourning, I guess, and she's just kind of gone off the rails. She's doing her own thing. She's going rogue. She's going against Team Arrow a little bit. And it's frustrating and just makes me dislike her even more.
Not good.
Where that's part of what this episode is dealing with. Like she's crossing lines where she's never really done that before, and Oliver's trying to talk her out of it. And then Lila, who is John Diggle's wife, who's the head of Argus now, is starting to cross lines, and he's like, I don't really know you anymore. You weren't supposed to be like this. And
I don't even know you, bro.
Exactly. And so that's kind of what it was like. The highlights for me were all the non-Arrow-y stuff. It was between Quentin and Renee, and it was like they're becoming two of my favorite characters, and I liked their back and forth. It was very emotional, very heartfelt. I did like it a lot, and I felt like that's kind of been the heart of the show a little bit lately.
Yeah.
I want to see Team Arrow get out of their groove and just start doing, again, kind of like The Flash. I want them to get back to the villain of the week, where they upgrade their tech, they upgrade their stuff, maybe they learn new things, they have more crossover with a little bit of like The Flash every now and then, like, hey, he comes help something. Obviously he has his own Savitar issues to deal with, but I think I would like to see it get there. This episode wasn't bad, but I don't like where it's like we're gonna divide the team more. I still think Felicity needs to be. There's gonna be a big event. The end of this episode ends with Felicity, through her hacker group that nobody really approves of, gets the information on where Adrian Chase is.
Yeah.
And the computer terminal explodes once they find out that Adrian Chase is in the building that they're trying to do the search from.
Yeah.
And it explodes, and it throws Felicity and Oliver like back, and an explosion white out the screen, and it just goes to the title card, and then it's done.
Gotcha.
My thought on that is that the guy who gave the information to Felicity played Felicity and made the thing explode.
Yeah.
Or really somehow Helix is connected to Prometheus and he did it somehow, and it's not really Helix's fault. But I don't know. As a whole, I thought it was okay. I give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, I just want to see it. I want to see it improve, maybe get back to how the season started. I think it'd be awesome. But
Cool.
That's it for Arrow.
All right. Well, then we'll move on to our next show.
Right on.
How's that sound?
Perfect.
You wanted to mention, though, I will say you wanted to mention a little bit about Prison Break.
I did want to mention Prison Break because it's I feel like I'm repeating the same things I'm saying every week. I'm gonna stop doing episodic reviews of Prison Break, and I'll wait till this 9-episode event series is over. Then I'll give kind of a general recap.
Yeah.
So it's like about a month and a half from now. It's kind of hitting all the same beats. It's like still okay, maybe kind of good sometimes. Yeah. But nothing warranting worth talking about each episode, I feel like.
I gotcha.
So we'll talk about it if this wraps up.
All right, sounds great, man.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to your final thoughts on that then.
Yeah.
All right, well then we are going to move into what's going to be our final TV show to talk about tonight, which is tonight. Who knows when people are listening to this?
Right.
Could be today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This 5 a.m.
Good morning.
This noon. This lunchtime.
I doubt anybody's waking up
this
first
dinner
thing
time. This brunch time.
This brunch time.
This second breakfast time.
Yeah. So there's many times of the day. It could be 1 o'clock, 2. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Go all the way through. So we're going to be talking about this show, Silicon Valley, which, Matt, this is not a show that you've had a chance to check out.
Right.
It's a show that I really liked. The reason that I got into this show, it does appeal to me just as like a person that like this category of show, this like the tone and the plot would connect to me because it's about a bunch of nerds and tech and things like that.
Is it as good as The Circle?
It's so much better than Circle. They're not even the same category, Matt. Don't you dare put that on me. No, I'm kidding. The funny thing was, though, like I was saying, is I didn't really catch on to the show until after it came right after Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And this show is a straight up comedy. It's got some minor-ish kind of like drama type
How many
stuff.
seasons is it in?
It's in its 4th season right now.
Oh, okay. So
Right.
It's been out for a while.
It's been out for a little while, yeah. So I started watching it because Game of Thrones is such a dark, heavy show at times.
Mhm.
And it's great to follow up because you watch Game of Thrones and you're like, everybody's dying, bad things are happening, people are getting eaten, burned alive. And then you watch this and it's like, hey, some humor, that's good. So it's kind of a lighthearted thing to follow up on. Its creators are John Archuleta, Mike Judd, and Dave Krasinski. I apologize. It follows the struggles of Richard Hendricks, a Silicon Valley engineer, trying to build his own company called Pied Piper, which is just an awful name, and everybody makes jokes about how awful it is. It stars Thomas Middleditch, who's Rich Hendricks. He's sort of the main guy that kind of is there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there's a whole group. So he's got this kind of cadre of fellow hackers, not hackers, but I mean, hackers in the true sense of the word, but they're software guys that are all trying to come up with sort of the next big thing. And he works at the beginning of the show at this really giant conglomerate called Hooli, which is kind of like your Google, if you will.
Yeah, Hooli.
Yeah. It's this giant conglomerate of like all the things, and it's led by this really ridiculous kind of a guy named Matt Ross, who's the character's name is Gavin Belson.
Oh, I know a guy named Matt Ross.
Oh yeah, I know him too, actually.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so Gavin is like this, he's the visionary type guy, director, and he's like really intelligent, but in a very specific way.
Okay.
He's a very strong leader and a very strong visionary, but he's a complete idiot in other ways. Like he's very good at some things, very bad at others, and so he's hilarious. He's very effective as a leader. It has TJ Miller in it, who's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's a great comedian. He plays Erlich Bachman. Not like Bachman. Yeah. Josh Brenner, this is the first thing I've actually seen him in, but he's Big Head. He plays this really kind of funny character that is he doesn't really care about anything, but he becomes super successful despite that.
Okay.
Like there's a season where literally he's getting promoted to like heads of departments and becoming more and more and better and more effective and getting like these huge salaries and getting millions of dollars for salary. And he's literally doing nothing. Like literally the biggest idiot. And it's kind of funny because it's in a way a satire of the industry. It's like, and that's kind of the cool thing about the show is that it satires Silicon Valley and jokes about it, but at the same time, it does have like realistic elements of how you'd see some of these people and how some of these people would be.
Right.
So Josh Brenner, Martin Starr, who's Freaks and Geeks fame, he plays a character named Guilfoyle. You have, I can't pronounce his name very well, but he's really good. Kumail Nanjiani, who plays Dinesh. And so Guilfoyle and Dinesh have this really funny kind of hate relationship. You'd love to say it's like love-hate, but they over the course of the show, like they work together a lot because they're part of this like group of people that kind of surround Rich and his Pied Piper. And so they become like really close to each other through that, but they kind of hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's always this game of like Guilfoyle trying to, in a way, ensnare and trick Dinesh into doing these stupider and more ridiculous things. So like he designs, and it's really funny because it kind of translates into the real world.
Yeah.
He designs like these jackets that say like Pied Piper on them, and they're like hideous, awful, like horrible things. And Dinesh is like making fun of Guilfoyle for it. But then Guilfoyle, people start recognizing him because Pied Piper becomes like really successful, and like, oh my gosh, you work for Pied Piper. And he's like, no. And then like Dinesh is like, wait, I work for Pied Piper. So he gets Dinesh to start wearing the jackets because of it. And it's like constantly a joke with him. And there's a bunch of other characters. Amanda Cruz, also, and she's Monica. She's kind of like a love interest, but she works for the angel investor group that invests into Rich Hendrick's company, Pied Piper. And they kind of have like a weird tension between each other, but she's more there to just kind of be like the liaison for the stuff with the angel investor group and stuff. There's a bunch of other characters. There's really funny. One of the things they do really good with the show is they create characters that are funny and that are realistic, but have like something to them. And they're like when you see them, you're like, okay, you jump out. And Mike Judd is good at that. He's good at creating like really strong characterizations and stuff. And the dynamics between all of them is really what makes the show as successful and as funny it is. And it's a setup for a lot of the jokes because a lot of it is kind of like the joking or the attacks that they lay against each other. You know, TJ Miller plays this character that's like, he's in charge of this home that he has people come into, and they can invent different types of softwares and things like that they could eventually like become really successful with. And so he's in charge of that, but he's like this cocksure, really smarmy, not like smarmy, but like he's a druggy but very confident but stupid character. And so he at one point, like throughout the course of the series, like him and Big Head get together and they start making this like company that's like really not, and there's like this hilarious play on like how the company slowly spirals out of control. Like they spend like there's a breakdown one episode where they're talking about all the things they spent money on because Big Head becomes a super successful, wealthy guy, and so like they spent like $1 million to move the pool like an inch, like a foot away, and then they spent another $1 million to move the pool a foot back close to them because they were like saying like, well, it's too close to the house, and the sun gets on it. And so we need to like move it. And so it's just really funny, like the whole way that their relationship transpires and kind of the dynamics that happen between all of them. And there's a lot of really good cringy humor. Okay. So if you're good with that kind of humor, it's not all cringy humor.
How close is it to The Office? Because I'm getting like some slight like
similar. Okay. It's not like documentary style like The Office, so they're not shooting, with the older the show. It's more cinematic in that sense. But the characters are in a way. There's similar characterization. There's like really strong characters in both, but they're a little less over the top. They're a little bit more, some of them are definitely more over the top, but they're a little bit less. They're more kind of real in a sense. A lot of it is just normal people that you'd probably meet, but in this type of industry and in this type of world.
Is Zach Woods or Jared, is he similar to his role in The Office? He was cringy in that show, and he was so like you felt he's like just so weird.
So it's hard to explain. Yes and no. He is still like, how in The Office he was like super obsessed with his mom and the company, and he would like do anything for them, and he was like a yes man. He is a yes man in this show, but in a much funnier, more like innocent way. Like he's super he's like a child that like never quite grew up. He's like sold out for like, the funny thing is he becomes quick buddies with like Richard and Pied Piper, and he gets involved there, and he like quits his job for Rich, and he's like sold out to the CEO and sold out to the vision, and he's like super passionate about seeing things happen, but he's also really smart.
Yeah.
He's got like a law degree. He's a lawyer, and so he kind of takes care of the legal aspects of the company. And he's like super, super duper innocent and friendly. But then there's these moments where you see that like he can kind of break through that, and he's like he does drugs and he like hooks up with girls and like other stuff. But he's also like super innocent and nice. And I would say this as well. It's a kid show. It's not a kid show. It's not a kid show. I mean, they make a lot of really over the top sexual humor and sexual jokes. There's no nudity or anything like that. There's no violence. It's just the language. There's definitely adult MA type language.
Well, TJ Miller.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, basically.
Yeah, and Judd Apatow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a great show though. If you're looking for something that has very intelligent, witty dialogue, good back and forth, the plot progression is funny and it makes sense. And they invent like some pretty cool stuff along the way. And it is it's this weird blend of like tragic hopefulness because something like really beautiful will happen for the characters, but then oftentimes that comes with like something really tragic happen, but then sometimes through the tragedy they're able to overcome that, and you really do start to get connected to the characters.
Cool.
And success, like wanting to see them be successful. And it's funny because they're kind of they get in their own way a lot of the time. So yeah, I would definitely say it's a great show to kind of check out if you're looking for just a really solid comedy. I'm actually sad right now because it's looking like the numbers have dipped pretty low. This was like at a 0.24 by the end of 2.4 at the end of last season, but then this most recent episode was under 1 million viewers, and so it's kind of sad because I think a lot of that has to do with the Game of Thrones thing. I think there was a lot of people that were doing similar to me. They were watching Game of Thrones and then going to this because it was like a way to just unwind from all the craziness that was happening on Game of Thrones. Yeah.
So it's good. It's good to hear. And I think it's really interesting too. And we should probably take note because we're getting really close to another like Writers Guild strike.
Yeah, we are.
And back in 2007, 2008, when that happened, a lot of shows died or like suffered greatly.
Yeah, Heroes is my one that I always remember as being so bad. After.
Lost had like an 11 episode season. So did Prison Break.
Yeah.
24 wasn't even on that year.
I remember that. Yeah,
they skipped the whole year.
See, I didn't watch those shows, but I do remember so many people being upset about that.
I was
my jam.
devastated. It was the season like after Jack like was.
We might not have things to talk about, man. We're gonna have to.
I know. So
review some older shows.
We just need to like
go watch
an
Cheers.
Eye on that.
Catch up on Cheers.
Family
and MASH.
Matters.
Yeah.
So we'll have to keep an eye on that because I mean that could affect shows in a big way, just depending on because it was like a 100-day strike or something, or like it went like 100 days before they figured out.
It was a couple months at least. Yeah. It was a pretty crazy one.
So anyways, we'll just keep an eye on that. But.
Yeah. So, and the cool thing at these guys is there's like, it's a little personal for me too. I got to see all of them get interviewed at Comic-Con. My sister actually met Kumail.
Oh, cool.
When he was kind of walking around and stuff. And they're all really cool guys.
That's awesome.
Very chill. So, yeah, it's just something to check out. I'd say like overall this kind of show on a scale of like 1 to 10 as far as enjoyability is at about like a 7.5 to 8. There's been episodes that have bumped more into like the 8 and 9 range, but it's kind of just recent. It kind of went down and then it went back up and then down and up, and it's kind of at the moment I'd put it at like an 8.6 or so.
Gotcha.
So awesome.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. So, well, with that, then we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show.
Yep.
Yeah. So a couple different ways just to remind you have to get connected to us. We've got our Facebook, which is facebook.com/Real Review Media. You can check us out there. You can also check us out on Instagram and or Twitter, which is at Real Review Media. You can also check out our website, which is realreviewmedia.com. And we're always posting fun, exciting, awesome movie and television shows type stuff on all those social media sites.
Yep.
Social media sites.
Indeed.
I just went blah, 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 blah.
Rickety-dickety-doo.
Rickety-doo. So also lastly, you can email us if you have any thoughts, realreviewmedia@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. Love to hear your thoughts on the show. Any requests or questions you want to run by us. Great place to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go. So any other thoughts or things, Matt?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, then it's been real.
It's been real.